Guten Tag, Herr Dr. Krick.
Welcome, Dr. Krick. It's our pleasure to be conducting this interview with you today. You've been with Fresenius for more than 40 years. When you started here, the company had barely 1,000 employees, most of them in Germany. Today, there are nearly 300,000, spread around the world in more than 100 countries. What do you think has been the biggest change over the years? Or perhaps what's remained unchanged?
This is not an easy question. What has remained the same is the job. The work today is every bit the same as the work we used to perform. What has changed is that when you head a company or hold a higher position, it is no longer possible to know every employee. They are now so numerous that you don't even know all those in leading positions. In the old days, you knew everybody. I used to walk through the filling station and would know the person operating the filling machine. Those days are over.
It used to be common for an employee to stay with one company for a whole career. Nowadays, it is very common for an employee to switch jobs frequently. You are somebody who has spent an impressive 40 years or more at the same company. Was there a time in your career when you thought you should try something different elsewhere?
Eigentlich nein.
Not really. Because the work was so interesting that I never thought about going anywhere else. The company grew and continues to grow, which made the challenges so interesting that nothing would have been gained by switching to another employer. Of course, it's only natural to check the newspaper occasionally, but when comparing opportunities, it became clear that this field was the right one. It is a great advantage for us to be in healthcare, and there should be no doubt about this. Anyone in healthcare who is not growing is doing something wrong.
To expand on the healthcare theme, Fresenius is a leading company in the healthcare sector. What makes us unique or special in comparison to other large corporations active in this field?
I'll have to backtrack a bit. What makes us special is that in the early years, we developed truly innovative products. I would call them breakthrough products. In dialysis, it was a dialyzer, the likes of which had not been seen. It was unique because it made controlled ultrafiltration possible, thereby eliminating patient discomfort during treatment. A second one is a filter, a polysulfone membrane, which basically simulates and imitates the filtration curve of a human kidney. This meant that a membrane in pure filtration process was doing the same thing that a kidney does. These were breakthrough innovations. Another breakthrough innovation can be credited to Kabi, in fat emulsions and in enteral nutrition. When we got started, enteral nutrition came in form of a powder that nurses mixed in the kitchen to be fed to patients with a spoon or tube. The innovation was that we said, this should be administered in the same way as infusion solutions, meaning it should be supplied in liquid form, and in a form that could be reliably administered both by patients and nurses. These were breakthrough innovations. When you look around today, you will see we are still selling these same products. The next step definitely was a decisive one. It was the perfect step for what was going on in dialysis, and it is something I call vertical integration. We no longer just sold products, the machines, filters, infusion solutions, and enteral nutrition. We also began to treat patients. This meant purchasing or constructing dialysis clinics. In addition, we have hospitals that do exactly the same thing, treat patients. Plain and simple, we want to be good at this type of treatment, and we do good when we also use our own products.
You have really achieved a lot during your career at Fresenius. Can you tell us something that made you particularly proud?
Eigentlich stolz bin ich, dass
I am particularly proud that, at the time, it was my decision to develop a polysulfone fiber, which led to development of a polysulfone dialyzer. In those days, there was only Cuprofan.
das ist klar, wenn man
It was clear that simply employing Cuprofan another way, Cuprofan fibers were manufactured by Enka Glanzstoff, represented no real progress, either from a medical or business standpoint. Today, we sell 140 million polysulfone dialysers, as they were developed in those days.
140 Millionen. Aber das Produkt selber,
This product is still essentially the same as it was back then, in 1978.
Unbelievable. If I may tie in with the sentence above, you just told us how you played a key role in shaping Fresenius. But the question occurs to me, to what extent did Fresenius play a role in shaping you?
das könnte ich gar nicht beantworten.
I don't have an answer for that. I am what I am. The key thing that I would say to those who are just starting at a company is remain true to your ideals. I have never compromised my standards. That's why I can't really say that Fresenius has changed me. I am what I am.
Das ist eine sehr gute Eigenschaft. Und
That's a very good trait to have. As a trainee mechatronic engineer, I would like to delve a bit deeper into the aspects of engineering and ask, what is more important to an engineer, technical expertise or creativity?
Basically, creativity. You have to say to yourself, what do I need to make something better? And the answer is, to make something really better, you must be creative. I think creativity plays a much greater role in this than pure technical expertise.
Although you hold a doctorate in engineering, you long have been part of company leadership. This leads me to ask, what advice would you give young people like us, who are also interested in a management role? Should we pursue studies in engineering or classic business administration?
Wenn ich überheblich bin,
At the risk of sounding superior, I would very seriously advise studying engineering. This is something in life you will not be able to get anywhere else. Whereas making sales and keeping books can be learned later in the course of a business career. The skills gained from studying business administration are easier to obtain in daily life than engineering expertise. That's why I think it's more important to study engineering.
was ich nochmal ansprechen würde, ist,
I would like to return to what we discussed earlier. If you wanted to develop another new product tomorrow, what would interest you the most?
da muss ich mich wieder ein bisschen weil das so offensichtlich ist.
I would say dialysis is the obvious candidate. The one truly unsolved problem in dialysis is the shunt, meaning the connection from vein to artery.
Und diesen Shunt, das ist ein synthetischer.
The shunt is a synthetic product. You must tap it with a needle. The connection is there to achieve high blood flows. You can't perform dialysis with low blood flows. This is a synthetic product. A shunt can break and cause infection.
Nicht jedes Jahr, aber
It doesn't happen very often, but the shunt is a fundamental problem in dialysis.
die FMC hat gerade eine
FMC has just entered into an agreement with Humacyte, which is developing a vascular system that is based on human cells. This is a breakthrough innovation. If I had to decide what I was going to do all over again, this is where I would begin.
Ich würde sofort bei dieser Firma anfangen.
Aber Sie sind mittlerweile seit schon 15 Jahren.
For the past 15 years, you have been chairman of the Supervisory Board. We believe not many people at Fresenius really know what the person in this position actually does, and it certainly is no ordinary job. So we would like to ask you if you would be so kind as to give us a brief glimpse into your duties.
Da müssen wir ganz lange diskutieren, aber ich versuch's mal.
To do that would take a very long time, but I'll try to make it brief. With the knowledge gained over the years about products, innovations,
Von den Märkten,
markets, and how to sell. We discuss and evaluate projects submitted by the management board.
Vorlegt und diskutiert, bewerten zu können. Es ist für einen Aufsichtsrat nahezu
It is nearly impossible for the supervisory board to check all facets of any of these projects. This would necessitate preparing them ourselves.
mit den Partnern verhandeln. Das kann ein Aufsichtsrat.
It would require us to conduct our own negotiations. This is beyond the means of a supervisory board. This means what we do is employ knowledge gained in the profession to evaluate and discuss projects with the management board. They must supply answers to the questions we raise. This latter point is the most important function. If someone intends to run the business from the supervisory board, and I have always said this, then they should stay on the management board.
Okay, dann sind wir jetzt am Ende des Interviews.
We have reached the end of our interview. Just one more question. Would you like to use this opportunity to send another key message to Fresenius employees?
Botschaft überbringen.
Die Botschaft ist ganz einfach.
The message is very simple. Continue to be successful and be better than your competitors.
Gut, dann vielen Dank.
Many thanks, Dr. Krick, for this wonderful interview. We wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
And many thanks for your time.
Es hat mir Freude gemacht, diese Diskussion.
It was a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks. I hope that I can be part of the continuing growth for some time yet.
Noch einige Zeit begleiten kann.